Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and I just want to fill you in on the things that have been going on around here. First things first, if there's one thing the pandemic has taught me, it's that I can cut my own hair. So here we go. I cut about 4 inches off. I gave I'm not going to, vouch for the way it looks just as I'm walking around. But, from here it looks pretty good. So I'm going to have to let Merlin in. So the other thing that's been going on is that I did my first The Basics workshop, which is a class that I developed. It's a Zoom class. It's a 2-day, 5 hours a day intensive workshop. And I developed it because I wanted someone who's never done hand stitching, or maybe has done a little bit of hand stitching, but has never done any of the kinds of things that I'm doing, but wants to learn how you can just kind of get your feet wet. So I put together some kits, and you can see those here. And when you sign up for the workshop, you can opt to sign up for a kit. Last week was the workshop. I put together a PowerPoint. I talk about the basics. So the basics in design, the basics in color, the basics in needles and threads, the sort of basic materials that I use, that I find I really can't do without. And then we start to stitch, and we put together, it can be abstract or representational, a little piece. I give in the kits a piece of linen that's about a 7-inch square, and a piece of wool that's about 6 inches square. So you can work on wool or you can work on linen, and then you can cut the other one up to add shapes to whatever you're using as your background. Really fun. It was a great group. It was just such a lovely, lovely group. And it was nice to have a group where I don't think anyone felt intimidated or felt that they couldn't ask a question or have me repeat something many, many times. Because, when you're just starting to learn something, I don't know about you, I needed to do it over and over again. I needed to, it's through repetition that one learns. And so it was just really, really nice. So I'm doing another of that same workshop, The Basics, in September. I'm going to put the link above right there. You can click on that, and that'll take you to my website where you can sign up, and you can sign up you can add the kit if you want. So that was really fun and exciting. The other thing that is going on is that my husband and I have 2 big trips coming up. The first is a trip to Africa. This is the other thing that I feel like a takeaway from the pandemic. I think especially because here in New York City, so many people were getting so sick, and almost everyone I know knew someone who had died, as well as a number of people who were very, very ill and were in danger of dying. I know I have 2 people that I was very close to that got really, really sick, one who has never quite recovered. So it was sobering. It wasn't abstract. It wasn't like, we were hearing on the news about this. We were talking to people on the phone, and I could hear in their voice that they couldn't answer the phone because they were too weak. So one of the takeaways was what are we waiting for? You know, I've wanted to go to Africa for decades. It's been on my bucket list and on my husband's as well. And we just thought, let's do it. Let's just do it. So in August, we're going to go to Africa and we're going to hike among the gorillas, which means, given our little foray into Zion and Bryce and how my husband managed to lacerate his feet, he needs to have a good pair of hiking boots. So he went online and he looked at various hiking boots and he chose one. And I've got a great pair of hiking boots. I love mine. I have these Merrells that are just like, they're so comfortable and wonderful and I love them and they give me ankle support and they're perfect. So my husband went online and he got some hiking boots. And then the other thing is that we're going to Egypt in November. Now this was where we were going to go on our honeymoon to Egypt. We were going to spend New Year's in Egypt, in Giza, looking over the pyramids. The intifada broke out and we had to cancel our trip. We ended up going to Mexico, got really sick. We were driving along the coast and we stopped at this little, like a lean-to, you know, sort of like this, what's going on the streets of New York now with the restaurant and the outdoor dining. Like a lot of these places have these sort of, you know, plywood shacks that they built and then they drape them with various things. It was kind of like that. Open air, outdoor, and we were hungry and I said, let's stop here. And they had fresh clams. Okay, now those of you who traveled know that this is just a recipe for total disaster. And I've traveled to Mexico many times. I know how sick you can get. But for some reason, I was thinking, I love clams. These are fresh. They just literally fished them out of the ocean. How bad could it be? Evidently pretty bad. I got so sick. We were traveling with my son, who was, I think, 17 months old. By the way, if you have a honeymoon, if you have a child and then you get married and then you take a honeymoon, it's actually not technically a honeymoon. It's really traveling with a small child. I mean, we should just be clear about that. In any case, he got sick, I got sick, my husband got sick. We called it the honeymoon from hell. Going back to Egypt. So we've always wanted to do our trip to Egypt and we felt like this is something we never got to do and we want to do it. So we are going to Egypt in November. But because it's a country that prefers, you know, that you cover your arms and legs and arms, these should be covered. And men really shouldn't be wearing shorts, even though Richard's shorts go right. They're not short shorts, you know, they're not, I mean, come on, we're not talking about the 1970s here, but they're just above his knees. You know, they're like tennis shorts. They're good looking, you know, athletic shorts, whatever. They're shorts. That's not going to go over so well. So he needs to get something else. So he thought, well, I'll get a pair of linen pants, like a drawstring linen pants. Yeah, I have to say, I feel for men. For women, it's easy. We just put on a dress, a light dress. We're fine. It's great. A light dress goes down, ankles, not a problem. But men, they've got to do, you know, I don't know. Their choices seem less interesting and fun. So as he's looking for linen pants, he says, I could wear a caftan, which, by the way, I'm totally encouraging and cheering him on, saying, absolutely, why not? So he starts looking at caftans. Hilarious. First of all, the caftans for men are like, the collar goes like this, and then it's sort of like a V, and so Richard's saying, well, I don't know about this. That looks like a plunging neckline. I'm not sure about that. So that was very funny. But my husband ended up purchasing a caftan, which I think is great. And why not? Why shouldn't he? I mean, really, I'm thinking he's going to be very comfortable. I know how comfortable I am wearing a loose dress. It's very comfortable. Why shouldn't he? So that's some of the bigger bits of news. Haircut, the basics workshop, men's caftans. Who knows? Perhaps he's going to start a trend, and it'll be something to wear even in New York. It gets very hot in New York. I'm going to show you the piece that I've been working on. This is the little piece that I put together while I was teaching the basics. So if you are a beginner, or you feel like you're not sure about some of the basic ideas around design, color, and stitching, this is a great workshop to just dip your toes in and kind of get a feel with other like-minded people. And I'm teaching it again in September. I'm going to post that link in the upper right corner so you can click on that. There's a little, you know, when I do that, there's a little white dot with an eye in it. And if you click on it, it'll take you right to the website. And you can read more about it. And I break it down on the website. I break down day 1 and day 2, so you really have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen each day and how we're going to proceed. But I'll turn you around and you can take a look at that, at the little piece I made. All right, so here's my little piece. I actually started with a sketch. So there was the original idea, and this is what I ended up with. And these are the various stitches, most of which I demonstrated for the workshop. It's on a linen back. It's got some cork. Got some fabric, Stupioni silk, then wool pieces. So I'm just going to keep working on that. So right now I'm doing some ribbon roses, kind of scattered. I ran out of the color ribbon for this, but I picked up another one this is Trinway. Anyway, and I figure this is good enough. I'll put the link for the how to do a ribbon rose in the description section. So if you don't know, you can look at that. I gotta tell you, I just think it's hilarious that my husband feels confident enough to purchase a caftan and seriously consider wearing it. We'll see if he actually likes it, you know. I mean, it'll come, he'll see if he likes it, and then, you know, who knows. The other thing that we did over the weekend was we went on a little walk in the morning, and as we were walking, there was this crowd. First of all, it is very crowded now here in New York. It's like, it's as close to being back to what it used to be like as I've ever seen it. And it was really fun to see people out and about, and big crowds of people. Everyone was out. People were shopping. But there was this car, and I'm going to put a photo of it. I'll put I'm going to show a little video that I took of this car. Too funny. Okay, random walk, and here we are. Check this out. And there is music coming from it, just so you know. Only in New York. Oh my gosh, too funny. Random walk with my husband. Sunday morning. Isn't that incredible? only in New York. I have no idea what that car was doing. It was right outside the Apple store. I have no idea. But Richard and I had just sat at a little outdoor cafe and had a little iced coffee and some avocado toast, which was delicious. And then there was this car. And then we walked along the river. We tried to go to Barry Diller's little island, but it was you need reservations if it's after 12 noon. So we're going to go. So I'm going to do a video about that because that is a really funky new addition to the Hudson Park. And then the other thing is Richard said, oh, let's walk through Chelsea Market, which I haven't done in years. I mean, we used to go with the kids all the time. And all these shops, and it was so crowded. And I thought, I've got to come back here with my video camera and do a little New York adventure in Chelsea Market because it is just lovely and a lot of fun to see. So I thought I'd take all of you on a little field trip through Chelsea Market. And they have photos of what that area used to look like before the High Line and Chelsea Market was revamped, and very cool. With these old street lights that are all rusty and they look like torches, but really, really kind of amazing. Lots of little places to eat and little shops. A lot of fun. So it was we had a fun weekend. And then this morning at about 3:30 in the morning, I wake up and I say to my husband, who's already awake, what is that? And it's this noise that I can't, in my sort of sleeping stupor, can't quite figure out. And it turns out it's someone buzzing the buzzer, the door buzzer for entry into the building at 3:30 in the morning, over and over and over. I was so disoriented. And then I was fast asleep. And then, of course, then I was awake. And I couldn't go back to sleep until about 5:30. And then I only slept for about another hour. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. And I'm definitely going to pay for that tonight. I'm going to be exhausted by 9 o'clock. I'll be ready to fall asleep. Yeah, so here's what I'm thinking. So I couched all of this using the Steph Francis Texture Selection Cotton Chenille. And I couched it in a Steph Francis Pearl Cotton. And now I'm doing these kind of little ribbon roses, and then I'm taking the Steph Francis Pearl Cotton and I'm doing little French colonial knots. And I'm doing kind of clusters and then some scattered ribbon roses. But I really like this color. It's not as bright as the other one. I'm thinking I maybe like it even better. It was so thrilling to see people out and about this weekend. It was the most everyone was sort of celebratory, and they're smiling and happy, and I think just so happy to be out. And yeah, so I might do one here and then this cluster here. So I've got this one and then this one. And then these little guys, I may do this. Someone wanted me to show a trellis stitch, which is not a beginner stitch. So that is not part of the basics workshop, is to do a trellis, because that really is not, that stitch you could do, several hours on. You really do need several hours. But anyway, I showed it. So I may do that with these other 3 little dots. I'll have to see what I feel like. So there. But we did a running stitch, we did a bouillon knot, a French knot, a colonial knot, a cast on, bouillon, drizzle, beaded drizzle. Yeah. So I'm going to keep working on this and hopefully have it finished, and I'll put this as my photo for the workshop when I finished it. And I hope all of you had a really lovely weekend. I'm also going to do something in here, and I think I'm going to do it with this color, the silken pearl. I don't know what. Maybe I'll just do a running stitch up the side, or I don't know. Not sure what I'll do. Figure it out. Oh, and I thought I might add little beads along the edge here, like this. Little black guys, little black beads, kind of cool. That's sort of fun, right? All right, I have now gone through 3 different things of ribbon, and I've now had to switch it up and use 3 different colors, as you can see. There's this one, there's this one, and then there's this one. But you know, I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, does it look different than this? Sure. But once I put the French knots in, it'll be fine. Right? Yes. Say yes. Okay. So, as you can see, I took all of that out that was here, and I just left the couching, and I did my trellis stitch around the 3 dots and this one. But otherwise, I removed all the ribbon, roses, and everything else that I had worked on. I did add some black beads here. But this is it. And now I've got my little back here of another kind of fabric, and I put some fusible in the back. And what I'm thinking is that I've ordered another pack of this. It's this lavender ground nutshells that I get from Amazon. And I figure I'm going to put 2 of these inside here. And this will just be a nice big 7-inch square cushion of some kind for pins, needles, whatever. I don't know. I didn't know what else to do with it. Thought I'd make it into a cushion. So that's it. I'll show you what it looks like when I finish sewing it. As you can see, I did not leave myself much seam allowance, so I'm going to be giving a very small seam allowance. But that's okay. Thanks so much for watching.